Hi everyone. Thanks for joining this product walkthrough for the new version of RightBig. We'll be covering the new features, but also, of course, for everyone that's new, we'll also be demonstrating a new use case that we've developed to show how RightBig works, its main features as well, besides the new ones. This way, giving you an experience that everyone can enjoy during this time. And at the end, we'll have some time to do some questions. You can write them in a chat in the Teams over here. And at the end, we'll be answering those if possible, of course. All right. So without further ado, let's get started with me. I'm going to be doing the presentation today. My name is Bruno, and we'll be showing you how RightBig works, clarifying your questions, and if you need any help, even after the meeting, feel free to reach out to us at any time. Regarding RightBig and what it does in our Tableau ecosystem, is that it allows you to go beyond insights. That's exactly the main goal of Tableau, and RightBig complements that, giving you the ability to introduce inputs on your data. And that's exactly where RightBig plays inside Tableau. So Tableau helps you see the data in a very nice and insightful way. But there are scenarios where we will be having that necessity to provide inputs. And having these directly within the Tableau dashboards is possible through RightBig. For example, with replacing values, providing comments, or in the use case that we're going to see today, creating an adjustment and creating an approval process as well for that. If there's a workflow where you have the business users providing the changes and then the manager is approving those changes, we're going to be able to see that today. And we're going to be seeing that today within Tableau, because RightBig, exactly as the name tells, lets us go into the data that we have on the dashboard. And based on what we are currently seeing, we can provide a comment back to the database and then join the everything together to see how that impacts our dashboards, to create new workflows within the dashboards that already exist. If you want to make adjustments, comments, provide further insights right there on the Tableau dashboard. So I'll jump to that in a moment to display how everything works together in the dashboard, and then I'll also show the new features while we're doing that. So the new features that are introduced in version 5 of RightBig, or 1.2 for the cloud version, will be the checkbox field. So that's a new way to create essentially a Boolean value that lets us either putting true or false in a certain statement or in a certain validation process. And that one will be very useful for the approval process that we're going to show today. Aside from that, we'll have we now have the data grid sorting. So we started with the data grid a few years back, and now we're developing improvements every year to it, including we had the resize of the columns in the past releases. We have a lot of adjustments while everything is positioned. Now it's possible to sort based on each of the columns that you need. Sometimes this is very useful because Tableau doesn't always have the sorting that we need, and you could just sort alphabetically or numerically directly on the data grid now. In addition to that, the rich text input was already in place, and we could then view it on Writeback directly on the dashboards. But you have to give the users the permission to be submitters or creators on Writeback. And with this, you can just give them the viewer license on the Writeback side to have more control on who can see your data and submit the data on the dashboard. That it's of course in line with our goal of always making Writeback as robust and secure as possible, and this gives you that additional level. We've been increasing the ease of use of the authorization module. This goes more in line with that as well. And one last note for our EU-based customers that prefer to have a cloud solution, we now have a cloud environment as well in there, and that is already up for a significant amount of time, and it's as stable as the one that we have on the US. So now we have that those two offers for the cloud environment. All right, so it's time to see things in action, and I'll switch over here to Tableau to show you Writeback working. Right, so over here, where's my mouse? There it is. All right, so we have a list of properties. So this is a real estate use case. It's actually based on one of the Tableau's accelerators. So it lets us very easily build some very interesting dashboards on pre-existing free data sources that contain already a lot of data, and data that is very similar to real data, and gives us the ability to create these use cases that are very interesting and very close to real life scenarios. Of course, use cases like these are also based on what our customers request when we do demonstrations or feature requests that our customers do. Actually, the features that we see today as the improved features on Writeback are both of them customer requests, and that's a very important thing that we have been going on, is to listen to what our customers do say, and then try to implement that into the product roadmap. So to get started over here on this dashboard, I already configured, so we'll pretty much be doing the perspective of an end user from now on, where I'll go in here. I can make adjustments to the existing values that we have in here. Could be that the revenue value is incorrect, or we get a new report, and these were like estimations, and then we want to make the final report ready. So there's a lot of reason why we could need to update these values, and we're going to do so through Writeback. In addition to that, incorporating an approval flow in here, the values will only change on my table once they are approved, which tends to be something that's very important in this type of use cases, because since it's so easy to use Writeback on the dashboards, we may not want that to be effective on our views immediately, and for that we can create this type of validation process. So let me just log in over here. I'm actually logging in via SAML, so the login process is more automatic in here, and then it takes me back to the dashboard, and I'm now using Writeback as a logged in user. So the end user will, once they log in, they will then be able to start using Writeback and inserting values. So let's say that I need to make an adjustment over here to these three properties. One of them I can see already has been approved, so maybe I don't really need to do a change on that. So I created over here this field exactly to see that. I can always see the data on right click when I click on something. But in this case, because it already has been adjusted, I don't need to do it again. So I can see that in there and on right click, I'll do the 3 ones in the bottom. So after selecting them, I can bring them into right click and provide the new values. So let's do an adjustment over here and over here, as well as in here. And then let's do the occupancy rate. Let's change these all, for example, to 70%. Okay. Then after submitting that, the user sees that automatically on the right back side. Okay, so I can see over here my entries, but I don't see those values over here yet. I can see that they are now in a pending state because I made that change. And I can see over here at the bottom that these were submitted by me. So in this case, the username that I'm using is Peter. So this user is now over here with the 3 entries. Okay. So now, of course, these wouldn't be exactly like these on a real case scenario because the user wouldn't be able to submit and approve at the same time, right? So this is because I wanted to put everything on the same dashboard to demonstrate on an easier way and see the values changing over here. The manager could now come in here to this bottom and right back configuration, and then approve or deny those changes. So let's say that we actually want to approve. So I will select all of them. Right back can over here identify the 3 selected marks, okay? And then I can say, let's approve. So that's the new field, by the way, the checkbox. It has 3 status actually, so it could be false, empty, or true. And then in this case, it's mandatory. We can see that by the little asterisk over there. And then when I submit, the values should then show up in here. So this is set for auto refreshing the data. We can see immediately the new values over here. I can see that they are now approved. And I can also see directly in here that they were approved. Now this is the username that I'm using over here. They're approved and we can see them in here, all 3 of them. Okay, so to go a little bit more detail what's happening behind the scenes and why I'm showing you this like so. So this table over here typically wouldn't be really necessary on an approval use case. This is more so we can have some visibility of what's happening behind the scenes. I created this little indication with the check and the cross exactly to show us that that approach, that example with what the manager would do. The manager would actually be able to see mainly this table over here, so they can see what they are requested of to get approvals, and the users would be working on the values over here on the left to make the adjustments. Alternatively, on a more, let's say, traditional scenario, this dashboard without the bottom right part over here would be shared to the business users. And then a second dashboard like this one over here would be the one used by the manager, where they have the properties over here, and then they use right back to do those changes. In this case, sorry, in this case, the configurations are the same. It's just pretty much a duplicate of the dashboard, but without the top part. But yeah, so something like this could be the real world case scenario where there would be 2 separate instances of work with this configuration. Now, another thing that the users can now do, and that's with the data grid sorting, In this case, they're already sorted within Tableau, so not the ideal scenario for something like this. But for example, over here, let's do the ones that were already approved. So I want to select all of these, and then over here. So these ones are all already on RightPick, right? So I can see them all in here. And then let's say that I want to sort these by the value that I use for the new revenue. I can just go in here, and that's just sort us like any other table. It lets you sort ascending or descending, and then we get the information in here. And it's on an order that's not exactly the same one that's coming from the worksheet. It's based on what we already submitted. And this could be very useful in cases where you want to quickly look for specific entries or specific data points that you already submitted. So this is something very useful that was not possible before, and it's now in the new version. And now, how do you actually get to this point? So the first step, of course, is to build the dashboard according to your needs. So there's a dashboard that contains my source data, the properties, the apartment property type, the bedrooms, the revenue, the occupancy rate. So this is all the source data, right? So in this case, the Tableau Accelerator. But then we want to make the adjustments. So we build RightPick. To build RightPick or any other extension, you first bring that extension object into the dashboard. And then when you do so with RightPick, you'll have access to the configuration screen over here, where we can make those adjustments to create new configurations where essentially these will create a new table in your database that will store the RightPick changes. Now, when we start, we need to select the worksheet that we want to work with. And from that worksheet, the fields that need to be rendered. So in this case, I have many other fields in place, but the property is the field that actually makes sense to capture on the RightPick side, so we can then later use it on joins. Since we're working on specific properties, that's really the what identifies the entry in here. And then, of course, if necessary, I could have any of the other available fields in here. For example, if we were working on a multi-year scenario, not just a specific year, it would make sense to also store the year, so we would know in what year we're making the adjustments for. It's not the case in here. It's even though we're comparing the last year, that's a static dashboard, and next year we'll probably have another dashboard. But if it was like a dropdown over here with the year, I could have that. Next, we define the name of the table that we will be creating with RightPick, and then the table with a very similar name will be created in your database. It will contain the columns that we define in here in the fields, but also the field that we're reading from the worksheet. For the columns that we create, they're what we call new field or custom fields. And we can see in here right away that I have two. So the net revenue adjustment and the occupancy rate adjustment. They're both numeric fields. And in the particularity of these two, because they are numeric values, I'm applying an expression over here where I want to have a thousand separator with a comma, decimal separator prefix with a $sign. Over here, I have a prefix with a percentage sign because it's a percentage. So you can customize how the fields will look like. And that way it makes it easier as well for the users to understand what they are entering. And other than that, there's an auto refresh option over here. That's how we can see the new adjustments coming up in the table over here. I'm setting it to refresh the data source that is contained in these worksheets. The only difference, other than that, with the bottom example, would be also the data grid view. It's enabled, so we get the data grid instead of the form. So, and this is also to show that you can configure RightBake with different layout structures depending on the use case and depending on your dashboard needs. And lastly, we can see over here that the username of who is making those adjustments. That's because RightBake automatically captures the username of whoever is logged in. And it does it so by default, because the users have to log into RightBake. So automatically you're going to get that functionality. But if you want to easily get it from the table, which is what I'm doing right now, without having to do a join with RightBake metadata tables, we can enable this, and immediately we just get the username in the data table, which is just essentially saves you a join when doing this configuration. For the bottom configuration, it's very similar in the sense that we define the worksheet, we define the fields that we want to read. But in this example, I'm actually reading from the worksheet that contains the RightBake adjustments, right? Because if I want to build an approval, I'm not going to approve directly over here because the changes are not there yet. I'm going to be approving from the RightBake table over here that contains those adjustments. Then, of course, it's a separate table that's going to contain the approvals. We can see the new Boolean field being used in here. We also have a comment, let's say that if we want to decline a change, we can justify why that change has been declined. Of course, we could also use reasons, for example, like reason codes with a predefined field. Predefined, it's like a drop-down that lets you select multiple options. But yeah, so there's multiple ways that you can customize your form depending on your needs. So in this case, of course, we don't have the data grid enabled, but we still do have the auto refresh on the same data source. This is the same data source that's feeding all of the tables, just with joins, and I'll show you that in a second as well. But yeah, essentially this lets you get the new values in here as well as in here updated. And as before, we also have the username, so we can see who is making the approvals. And then it's the inline form. Alternatively, we could make the form a pop-up. That depends, of course, on the space that you have on the dashboard, because we have enough space over here to make the inline form. I had it enabled, but if it was a smaller space, I could just have the pop-up form like this, where you select the mark and then click on RightBake to open it like so. Functionally, of course, it works exactly the same, just depends on your preference. Yeah, so going to the behind the scenes on how this is all connected. Over here, I can show you the data source where we have the 3 tables working together. So this is the source data that contains all the property data. So the bedrooms, the type of property, and so on. Then we're joining it with the RightBake table. We can see that the relationship over here is on the property value. That's the value that we are reading on RightBake. And then we're joining the 2 RightBake tables together again, as well on the property value. With this, we can then create a dynamic dashboard like so, where some values are coming from the original source, other values are coming from the RightBake side, and everything together with the approvals gets the final result. So, for example, over here, I could show you the occupancy rate value. And essentially, it has a very simple calculation where if there is no RightBake value, I'm showing the original values that come from here. There's a lot of logic behind the scenes because of the accelerator that calculates this. But essentially, if there is no RightBake value, we change the original value. Well, we keep the original value. Oh, sorry. Otherwise, if there is an approved change, we show the write back value. Otherwise, of course, we revert to the original value. That's always the default, it's the original value. But when we do have an approval, then that's when we show the write back value. And the same thing is happening for the status. The status is just a simple calculated field based as well on the approval status of write back. There's 3 conditions, which is the original value and the approved. I mean, 2 conditions that are in the main ones, and of course, everything else is in the pending state. So whenever there's a new value or it has not been approved, that's where it falls. And yeah, so this is how you can set up a very typical use case and typical flow of write back within Tableau. And as you can see, everything can stay either in the same dashboard or, of course, in a more real scenario on 2 dashboards that depend on each other. And we can create a very easy process for everyone to take their actions on the data. And this is all possible because write back is right into your database. So you can easily connect to it and go through with the changes and easily connect to the data. And that's also made easy using the write back manager. So just jumping over here really quick to show you that. For everyone that already uses write back, most likely you're already familiar with the write back manager interface. But for everyone that's new, I'll just do a quick rundown of how it works. So it's where you set up most of the aspects that are almost most of the times just a one-time setup. So like setting up a certificate, an authentication method, which in my case I'm now using SAML. Because this is a local environment, I'm using a local host server, but typically these would be your final write back domain, something like writeback.com or writeback.company.com, where you would have your certificates to run write back. Of course, these would be if you run on-prem. If you do use write back cloud, that process is simplified because you don't have to host your own server. However, you do have, of course, to provide your database over here, your database connection details. So the data is always on your side. Both on write back on-prem or write back cloud, you're going to get that that type of flow. We won't store any of the data in any of the cases. The database is always going to be yours. We can currently see over here the supported databases. So as long as you use any of these databases, write back can connect to it. It's just important to note that you don't necessarily need to use the database that you're using for Tableau. As a matter of fact, the database, or rather the use case that I've used just now doesn't actually have a database connection at all for the source data. So it's just a Tableau extract file, and it can still be used in conjunction with write back because we're not actually writing to the source data. As write back writes separately, we can have the tables on a separate technology, a separate schema, separate database, and that's usually not a problem because you can do relationships or even create an entirely new data source to join everything together. But yeah, so you configure the database connection, the authentication. It's also where you manage your license, and it's also where you get your T-Rex file. That's the file that you're going to use to bring write back into the dashboards. And it's also where you can set up your users, assign them the roles, like for example, the viewer that I mentioned earlier. You can create groups of users, and everyone that logs into write back is automatically added into here. So if you want to make any changes to the users or control your license seats, you can do everything through here. And one last topic would be the actual behind the scenes of write back. So it's deployed in, of course, in server or cloud, depending on the product that you choose to go for. On the write back server, everything is in your infrastructure. So even, of course, if you use a cloud infrastructure, it will be your own infrastructure. This will let you install RightBack on that server and connect to your database, and for everything always stays on your side. So that's the main flow of data, and that's what I was using right now. So we were getting the data not through Tableau server, but would be a very similar process where the data warehouse is what's feeding the data into Tableau, and then on Tableau, I'm using a RightBack together to write to the RightBack tables that were created for the use case. And then everything was joined together again on Tableau, so we could see everything side by side. On the cloud, it is very similar process. Of course, the difference is that the RightBack in itself is hosted on the cloud, but still, of course, the database is going to be on your side. Before we jump to the Q&A, just wanted to quickly give you a view of our website. Let me just bring it over here, where you can request a trial at any time. We also have a live demo that doesn't require any installation or any downloads. You just log into a public-facing Tableau server, but of course that's public-facing. So if you want to have a more customized demo, you can request a trial and use the full feature set of the product, just limited by the 30 days. And we also have so this is an on-prem trial, but we also have the cloud trial available through the Microsoft App Source, since the RightBack Cloud is hosted on the Microsoft Azure cloud. And now for those questions, let's see over here if we have any. I don't see a question, but I see a very positive, comment. Thank you, Neil, for the kind words. That's really great to hear. That's also actually part of the RightBack product and trial is the support. So during the trial, as we always say, you can always try our support. Because during the product, you're going to get we have a service desk in place, and also we can meet to make configurations or help with the necessary RightBack components if needed. So we have a request about, but I'm gonna start by the older ones, the older questions. Let's see. So yeah, the recording will be made available after the webinar. And all right, so we have a question regarding the upgrade. Upgrading this version, it's just a smooth transition. There's no any major dependencies like we had in the past. This is just an upgrade, and that's it. There's no additional configurations that will be necessary this time around. So it could be easily planned. And of course, as always, if you need help to get the upgrade going, we can set up 30 minutes should be more than enough to go through there. All right, so we have a questions regarding the approval process about the approver role. So we don't really have an approval role on RightBack. As you saw earlier, I was going through the submitter, creator, and viewer. Those are the roles on the RightBack side. I would say that the approval role would be more in line with the Tableau workflow. So you would only give that approval dashboard to the people that need to use the approval RightBack configuration. So that would be the bottom one in the example over here. So that's why I created this separate dashboard that contains the approval process only, because typically the business users wouldn't be seeing the actual approval process over here. They will just be submitting the data and potentially see what's pending. But the actual approval will be on a separate dashboard. And you always have to think of Writeback as an extension of Tableau. So that's something that you can already do on Tableau to control who has access to the dashboard. So that's something that you would most likely do through there. You would only give access to the dashboard to the people that actually need to use it. And so yeah, I think I answered 2 in 1 in that one. So yeah, they're related, and I would say that the approval user, since that doesn't actually exist on Writeback, that's what I was just saying. You would create a dashboard just for the approvals. We don't have the PPT, the PowerPoint available, but on our website, we do have the documentation page. So if you go to documentation.writeback4t and you check the overview, you can go for the server or cloud. But for example, going over here to the server, you can download a datasheet that it's actually even more in depth than the actual presentation. It's not built so much with slides in mind, but has more topics and more details of each of the components, including the diagrams that I showed. And then we have a topic regarding the costs. The costs are publicly available on our website. So over here on writeback4t.com, you can choose the product, and then for the server or for the cloud, depending on what you prefer or need, you can compare the costs. For example, for the Writeback server, you can come in here, and this is set by tiers. You can easily estimate how much it's going to cost based on the tier that you will need. That's a very good question about the access to the dashboard and to the data. I'm reading William's question. If someone has access to one of our Tableau dashboard, but isn't licensed in Writeback, can they still see data that someone has submitted, or do they need a viewer license? So we get this question a lot, but actually you don't need a Writeback license to see the Writeback data. At the end of the day, it's just data in your database, and anyone that is able to see the data will be able to see anyone that's able to see the dashboard will be able to see the data as it is. They can see if it was approved or not. They just won't be able to use Writeback if they don't have a Writeback license. However, in scenarios like these, they will still be seeing the Writeback space in here and in here in this case, and they either won't be able to log in, or they will get a login error because they are not authorized to use Writeback or don't have a license for it. In those scenarios, actually, what we usually recommend is to set up a separate dashboard. So I could easily just, for example, duplicate this dashboard and remove Writeback from it. So remove this one, remove this one. And now I would share, of course, I would have to adjust the dimensions and everything. But the next step would be to make this dashboard available for everyone that doesn't need to use Writeback. And this way, I could easily share these with everyone, even those that don't have access to Writeback, and they could still see the changes that were done through there. We're running close to the end of the session. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay. Okay, so I'll answer the PDFs question first. So RightPick doesn't allow to submit PDFs, but you can actually submit Excel files. This is something that was introduced in the previous version. So if I want to do everything over here through an Excel file instead of instead of the RightPick form, I can download a template file, and that template file will contain the adjustments fields, but will be with empty values. So I'm just quickly opening that to show you over here. So this is what it will look like. There's the property name and then the adjustments that we can provide. You can fill this out and then simply upload the file. RightPick will check for errors and tell you if anything is wrong in here. And then when you do submit, it's just like as if you were submitting through the form, but writes directly to the table to RightPick. Yeah. PDFs, I'm not sure exactly if this is what you're asking. Would you like to upload complete PDFs, or do you think this is in line with what you're thinking? And while we're answering that, if you can, please, I'll just quickly go over here. Yeah, it's the same from the same person. Can you see detail rows displayed in the approval panel? Could you elaborate a little bit more just before closing up if you have time? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking with that detail rows in the approval panel. And while we're doing that, I'll just quickly go over here to the documentation based on Neil's comments. Besides the technical data sheet, we can easily get the diagrams as well. They are publicly available on documentation. So in the overview of both server and cloud, you can compare them. You can go through here. So in the documentation site, you go to the overview, and then you choose server or cloud. And then, for example, server, we can navigate, or actually get started rather than overview. And then administration overview over here of each of them. And the cloud one is over there too. Going back to the chats, and over here, oh, I see. You would like to upload like CVs in PDF. Yeah, unfortunately, that's not possible as of now. But that's a great suggestion. Thank you for pointing it out, and we'll see with the team if it could potentially make sense to our roadmap. That's definitely not off the table at all. But yeah, let's see that. And where do you? So over back to here. Oh yeah, you can customize everything over here as you need. Okay, on the RightPick side, I made it as simple as possible because it's just essentially a form where, and I'm just going to put it back to inline. It's just a form that we can work based on what's in here. But what's in the detail of the rows, either in here, or anywhere, that of course you can customize how it's going to look. And yeah, because that's mostly, I would say, a Tableau feature rather than RightPick. On RightPick, it gives you the timestamp, the user that made it, and so on. And then on Tableau, we will display that according to your needs. All right, I think that's everything covered. Of course, as always, if there's anything else that you guys are forgetting, and I'll oh yeah, just again to confirm that there's no missed questions. I think not, but yeah, if anything else comes up during your testing, or after this meeting, if you start exploring it and want to know more about RightPack, of course, we're always reachable via our service desk over here. You can open a ticket at any time. For very quick questions and some guidance, like where you can get this resource, or if we need to set up a meeting, we also have a live chat over here that you can come and talk to us during the business hours. And then, of course, we have the emails available for that as well. And without further ado, I think the last thing for me to say is that thank you all for your time today. And it's been great seeing all of your questions and all your interaction. That's really valuable. And please be on the lookout for something that we've been working up as well. We plan on bringing RightPack to more people and more companies in the future. So very soon we'll have more news on that end. And yeah, this version will be made available, hopefully, I believe, end of next week. And of course, everyone will be warned about it. We'll be communicating that. And yeah, I think with that in mind, thank you everyone again, and have a nice day, have a nice week, and we'll keep in touch. Bye.